And the political world is adjusting swiftly to the Republican results out of Iowa, which show Trump in the lead, as we were covering that night with Rachel, but half of that red electorate open to alternatives. The top two alternatives, which are two individuals separated by just under 3,000 votes in Iowa, are squaring off. There are high stakes in New Hampshire. This is the more moderate independent state that could favor Haley. Its voters also will look more like the November electorate that the nominee, whoever the Republicans ultimately pick, will have to face. New tonight, DeSantis is not campaigning in New Hampshire right now, having given up on the moderate-leaning state, given the, quote, abysmal poll numbers per the New York Times. And while it is January, and let's remember the rest of the less political parts of the nation are probably a little more exhausted at the thought of turning back to campaigns and more focused on things like what we promised we'd show you, Christmas trees eventually coming down, and they're not so obsessed with New Hampshire. But this is a state which does know the drill. It has a tradition of vetting candidates, rewarding grassroots campaigns, independent leaders, and it has often turned to embrace candidates who even underperformed in Iowa, that race which comes before the first actual primary.
Welcome to our 115th town hall meeting here in New Hampshire. And I think we finally have a poll without a margin of error.
New Hampshire tonight has made Bill Clinton the comeback kid.
New Hampshire, I want to thank you. We love you. We're going to be back a lot.
It's a stunning and overwhelming landslide for Mr. Hart.
I love New Hampshire. I am not prepared at this moment, at least, to claim the position of front runner. But I know one thing. Tonight in New Hampshire, we buried the label dark horse.
But tonight, we sure showed them what a comeback looks like.
And you can hear the theme there. It's a kind of reverse LL Cool J. The long shots who triumph in New Hampshire do call it a comeback, and they want everyone to know they came back. Clinton famously dining out on that comeback branding, even though if you check, he actually finished second in the state, but he beat the so-called expectations. And while there is already headlines and talk of crowning Trump the nominee after a single state voted, that's part of the Beltway punditry that I have warned you about, where elites try to speak for you, for voters, to short-circuit the process instead of just chilling out and listening and letting democracy play out. If we all care so much about democracy, then maybe the Beltway pundits should act like it and listen. Because the truth is more complicated, as is so often the case. Right now, there are signs and evidence that Donald Trump's odds are higher than the alternative candidates. But there's no certainty after one state has voted. In fact, if you remember, just about 4 years ago, there were headlines about this candidate named Joe Biden and the blistering losses he faced in New Hampshire and Iowa. There were reports that noted that that candidate, Joe Biden, was long gone from any front-runner status. There was a report that he didn't even meet the threshold to collect a single delegate in New Hampshire. CNN reporting that his nomination victory now, quote, seems elusive. Elusive, meaning something that eludes you, that will not happen. That was just 4 years ago. They were wrong. Biden went on after that terrible finish in those early states to get the nomination, and then, as you may have heard, the presidency. Now, campaign veterans who follow this stuff actually know the key is to listen to these voters, especially in the early states.
With the Iowa caucuses now a distant memory, the 6 remaining contenders will hear from the voters in New Hampshire.
Of course, it would be very important for them to try to win this primary in New Hampshire.
New Hampshire has a certain character. Personally, I like that very New England word, flinty.
Flinty. Now, just as Biden showed you can lose New Hampshire badly and still go on to win the nomination, Donald Trump did use that state that's coming next week to rebound from his 2016 Iowa loss, which was how his whole campaign started. This cycle, though, Donald Trump's problem in more independent areas is how he keeps losing suburban voters.
Suburban women, will you please like me? Remember?
Joe Biden was strong with suburban women going into this, perhaps was even a bit stronger.
Joe Biden more than doubles that. He squeezed a lot more votes out of a densely populated suburban county.
Those suburban votes were key to putting Joe Biden over the top in the Electoral College.
You can see it was really the Philadelphia suburbs that helped to make the difference for Joe Biden.
Say what you will about the suburbs. If you watch movies like American Beauty and people say it's where hope kind of dissipates, or there's too much traffic, or there's too many strip malls, or maybe you love the quiet and the peace of the suburbs. But politically, the suburbs did then President Trump in. They made him the loser of that election. And that suburban problem continues, which is another reason why, if you put the Beltway punditry aside, these early contests are so closely watched, because you're getting new real-time information about what voters are doing. James Carville was just reminding us how these off-year races can reveal the mood, and that Democrats, he noted, have been winning all of them since the high court overturned Roe, including in conservative areas. And this week shows a different version of that, the GOP primary finding the Iowa suburbs absolutely recoiling from Trump. 70% of those Republicans who live in those areas flocking to other candidates, over 60%, I should say. A striking weakness that includes suburbs where Trump received less than a quarter of the GOP vote, Politico notes. And obviously, we will still have to wait and see how Trump does in the many states. But if Haley does come out here and manage her upset in New Hampshire to rebalance sort of not only expectations, but how the rest of the party looks at a race that may not be over, well, she would be potentially in good political company.
New Hampshire tonight
New Hampshire, I want to thank you.
has made Bill Clinton the comeback kid.
We love you. We're going to be back a lot.
It ain't over, man. We're just getting started.
But tonight, we sure showed them what a comeback looks like.
The point there is not simple. Not everyone you just saw on your screen won New Hampshire. You heard Joe Biden, then a candidate, saying it ain't over, man. It's far from over, even as he got 0 delegates in the state.
Feel any better? I have already put evac on alert. He's ready to go if it comes to that. General, I can assure you.
Hey, General, let me into the war room to see you, so I had to hack my way onto this frequency.
This better be critical, Wheelie.
Sir, come on, when is it not, please? Okay, couple of things. I'm running low on the dough. I was thinking about taking a couple of months sick leave, maybe starting today. And, oh yeah. I intercepted a transmission from Megatron.
Then send it through.
Yes, sir, right away, sir. And so I was so damn caught on the other stuff.
This is your last warning, insects. Relinquish what remains of the Allspark.
So who's the insect? You? What? Who's the insect?
Protect you. They were defeated on our world, and we will defeat them here.
This was just a diversion.
Security, please bring up. Ravage, he's already inside. Deeds! Give me an update on that reserve. Boss readiness. What was his name? What was it?
Evac, sir.
Right, evac.
She's right in front.
We are facing a heavy, sustained attack. They appear to be after the Allspark.
General, watch out! General! You need to immediately evacuate everything. Hold on. National security advisory. Stay down. Check it out. The mission is outrageous. The amateurs are suicide mission.